Embarrassment is growing for Trump as his much-touted Hormuz siege appears to falter for a second straight day. Ships continue to pierce the Strait of Hormuz on day 2 of Trump's blockade, moving in and out of Iranian waters despite US threats. After the Elpis, Christiana, and Rich Starry slipped through, more vessels are now entering Iranian waters in open defiance of US pressure. US sanctioned supertanker reportedly fooled American forces and reached Iran's borders with its tracker on. Has Trump's blockade already lost credibility on the high seas? Despite Trump's Hormuz blockade, more vessels entered Iranian waters on April 15th, according to regional media. The development was reported by Iran's semi-official fast news agency, which cited commercial ship tracking data to support the claim. One carrier transporting food supplies entered the Gulf and was reported to be en route to Iran's Imam Khomeini port. A supertanker listed under US sanctions also entered Iranian waters on the morning of April 15th, defying American measures. The supertanker, which has a 2 million barrel carrying capacity, reportedly reached its destination without any interference. The bulk carrier Christiana, having just unloaded its cargo at the Iranian port of Bandar Imam Khomeini, then exited the Persian Gulf by crossing the Strait of Hormuz shortly after the blockade went into force. Another tanker, Elpis, departed from the Iranian port of Bushehr carrying a methanol shipment and also managed to clear the strait despite the surrounding military restrictions. A third vessel, the Chinese-linked tanker Rich Starry, reportedly passed through the waterway overnight, using an Iranian-preferred route and signaling that some traffic is still finding ways to transit. Analysts have warned that vessel tracking signals and AIS data in the region appear to be increasingly disrupted or deliberately manipulated, making it harder to verify every movement. Meanwhile, the US military says that destroyer-class vessels are actively monitoring and, where necessary, targeting ships operating around Iranian ports and nearby lanes. A US destroyer reportedly intercepted 2 oil tankers that had just departed from the Iranian port of Chabahar, ordering them to turn back, according to a Reuters report. According to US officials, several merchant vessels have already been warned over radio or otherwise redirected away from areas covered by the blockade enforcement zone. Since the blockade took effect on April 13th, more than 20 commercial vessels have still been recorded transiting the Strait of Hormuz, according to a Wall Street Journal report on shipping data. The continued passage of ships suggests either partial enforcement of the blockade or that the measure has not fully shut down all maritime traffic in the critical waterway. An Iran-linked oil tanker, along with several Chinese ships, were reportedly able to transit freely amid the ongoing blockade, underscoring potential cracks in the American enforcement. The Quds Force commander said, quote, "The Unified Resistance Front has a powerful and effective presence throughout the region, and is lying in wait for the enemies of humanity. They will pull out of the region without any achievement." Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, Esmail Baghaei, has also stepped forward to sharply criticize this controversial move directly on the social media platform known as X. The Iranian foreign ministry spokesman said, quote, "Can an illegal war of choice be won through a revenge of choice against the global economy? Is it ever worthwhile to cut off one's nose to spite one's face?" Unquote. Iran's military has issued a stern warning that any perceived threat directed towards its vital ports would inevitably trigger a much broader and more intense regional response across the area. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, has explicitly stated that no port located in the Persian Gulf or the Sea of Oman would remain secure or operational if its own ports were targeted or hit in any way. A Chinese tanker sanctioned by the United States sailed through the Strait of Hormuz on April 14th, marking a striking development amid the new maritime standoff in the Gulf. The vessel passed through Hormuz despite the US-imposed blockade, according to ship tracking data that showed it successfully made the transit out of the Gulf. Reuters made the claim about the vessel Rich Starry, citing tracking data from LSEG, Marine Traffic, and PLR to document the ship's movement through the strategic waterway. According to the same data, the Rich Starry would be the first ship to make it through the strait and exit the Gulf since the blockade began. Notably, both the tanker and its owner, Shanghai Xianrun Shipping Company, Limited, are under US sanctions, making the passage especially politically sensitive. Reuters reported that sanctions on the Chinese-linked company were imposed because of its dealings with Iran, placing the vessel in the wider network of trade restrictions tied to Tehran. The Rich Starry is a medium-range tanker carrying about 250,000 barrels of methanol, according to the shipping data cited in the reports. The vessel loaded that cargo at its last port of call in Hamria in the United Arab Emirates, adding another regional link to the ship's voyage. Reuters also reported that the Chinese-owned tanker has a Chinese crew on board, based on the available vessel data. An Iranian embassy statement described the Rich Starry as a Malawi-flagged tanker, adding another detail to the growing attention around the ship's transit. Iranian embassy in Ghana wrote on X, and I quote, "Breaking, Rich Starry, a Chinese oil tanker sanctioned for shipping Iranian oil, flying the flag of Malawi, a country with no coastline, just sailed through America's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz." The Navy, with its many big beautiful ships, issued repeated warnings. Reportedly, the tanker's captain upgraded to premium to skip the ads. Edit. We're being told the blockade only applies to countries the US isn't afraid of. That list used to be long. It now fits on Trump's McDonald's receipt, delivered by DoorDash. Unquote. After imposing a naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, Donald Trump has signaled a possible shift toward renewed diplomatic engagement. The US president indicated that he is considering a second round of negotiations with Iran, according to recent reports. In an interview with the New York Post, Trump stated that discussions with Iran could resume within the next 2 days. He also suggested that the proposed talks may once again take place in Islamabad, based on current indications. However, Trump's remarks appear to differ from earlier statements made in the same interview cycle. Previous reports had indicated that he described the pace of talks with Iran as slow and uncertain. He had also earlier suggested that a second round of negotiations might not be held in Pakistan. According to the New York Post, Trump had even indicated that European countries could host the next phase of discussions.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.